Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This week we saw IO Interactive's 007 First Light gameplay reveal drop on Sony State of Play, as well as on IO Interactive's own channel. It makes me chuckle because essentially it's the same material, but the Sony State of Play interviews had Akana Brock, the game director and the CEO of IO Interactive, had PlayStation branding all over it with the, circle, square, triangle, X. Yes. All kind of like branded behind him, but then on the IO presentation, it's the same without the shapes floating all over. I don't know, anyway, I thought it was funny. Grab your tuxedo, pour yourself a martini.
Vodka martini. Shaken or stirred?
Do I look like I give a damn?
And let's break down everything we saw in the first gameplay reveal, uncover subtle details, and speculate on what's coming next for our favorite British spy. The first thing that jumps out at you is the unmistakable DNA of IO Interactive's Hitman series. One of the first sections we see is Bond infiltrating a castle that's hosting a fashion show very similar to the showstopper mission in Hitman. The parallels are immediate. We see Bond listening in on conversations for clues, the invitations necessary for entry, and some NPCs can even be heard remarking that they think he's a model.
How do you do? Where have I seen him before?
I think he models for Alexander Dugin.
Oh, right.
Some will provide an opening to a path forward through stolen identity and the like. The classic Hitman traversal is here too. Bond is climbing drain pipes and hanging from ledges to find alternate routes. There are restricted areas, apparently even the flower gardens are off limits, and puzzle mechanics that require you to find resources to open up new paths. It's that social stealth sandbox that we know very well from Hitman, but reimagined for the world of espionage. We had two rather long car sequences shown off in this reveal, which was 34 minutes long. And they start with the green car sequence, which is clearly a setup for the reason for the mission ahead. We also later get a rather long car chase through winding roads, wheat fields, etc. We'll talk about performing some graphics later, but what is nice that these sequences is that they show the accuracy of the world. IO officially licensed and modeled every car used in the game. They also recorded each one of them out in the wild on a track to have the most accurate detail available. Speaking of that mission ahead for a moment, we clearly don't know what the story will be just from watching this reveal, but that's not really the point of the demonstration like this. Look for my other video on my channel doing a more general what we know so far breakdown on James Bond and the making of this game. But what we do see is that there's a license to kill system incorporated somehow, with XP pop-ups that I wasn't expecting, and a slow motion system that pops into action sequences. Now let's talk mechanics. Clearly there's a high level of stealth in what we saw in this drop. This is IO's bread and butter, and they are going to make full use of it. It lends itself to Bond as well, because while Bond isn't always adverse to fighting and confrontation, the character of Bond is known to be suave,
Such a delicate touch.
Sheer magnetism, darling.
smart, and sneaky.
If you're Q, does that make him R?
Ah, yes, the legendary 007 wit. Or at least half of it.
I just hope that IO takes these extremely successful mechanics from Hitman and finds a way to revitalize them for a different experience unique to Bond. But this is far from just a reskin. Where Project 007 carves out its own identity is in its commitment to being a full-throttle action adventure. The footage makes it clear that this game offers way more freedom in its action than a typical Hitman title. We have car chases, shootouts with much more freedom of movement, and a variety of ways that they are shown combining action with those gadgets that Agent 47 often had, just like Bond. I think the highlight of this reveal for me was the scene in the airplane in the last few minutes of the gameplay. Bond uses his watch to hack into the airplane and then uses it as a tool while still in battle. The player will use the hacked plane to rotate it left and right, knocking enemies into boxes and out of open doors in the plane, while still shooting and fighting. Very clever. A lot of people have been interested in how smart the NPCs are in gaming lately. We've seen a lot of AI that run around clumsily or not the smartest. When you watch this scene, you see AI running around a bit wonky, and you can start to worry. But IO has addressed this as well. IO would have you go back and look at the IQ of their AI in their Hitman games, which had to be smarter than a 5th grader. Here we should expect AI to be fairly smart as well. In a scene like this one, there's clearly an objective for Bond to get to the plane in a fairly short time frame. So what you see isn't necessarily dumb AI, but AI being in conflict with you while still trying to give the player enough room to make their way to the plane in time. Another aspect of the game that I'm really interested in are the gadgets. I instantly noticed that our HUD is a watch, which is a really nice touch. But as much as Bond is well known, so is Q, the tech genius that gives Bond his fun little toys.
Sorry about the leg. Skiing?
Hunting.
We already know of one from this reveal, the smartphone that has sleeping darts in it for those enemies that can't be persuaded. We've been told there will be different Bond tools for different playstyles that you can choose to go into the missions with. The way this information was presented was really a surprise to me. I was fully expecting a linear game without breaks. But this has me wondering if 007 First Light is going to be a setup more like a Hitman game, with a loading screen for every chapter where you select your loadout, your clothes, etc. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Now, it's not all perfect. This is clearly a work in progress build. There are a few technical hiccups to address. There are some odd focus problems during that yellow car scene, particularly in the field with the wheat. I also noticed some strange reflections on the back of the windows during the chase scenes. Matter of fact, through most of the car scenes and the plane scenes, the focus seemed very inconsistent. It really boils down to an insane amount of motion blur, which I usually don't mind, but was rather frustrating to watch in this reveal. Very generally speaking, motion blur can be used to cover up issues with the game, so let's hope that this was either a temporary decision because the game is still in development, or that when it's turned down or turned off, there aren't any glaring issues that get exposed. The lighting in most scenes looked absolutely fantastic, but there's definitely shadow pop-in issues. Especially noticeable during that green car scene with the guards along the gate wall. I personally don't mind these types of issues, but it's there for those that do care, and hopefully it does get fixed before launch. Action scenes are typically the more demanding technically, and we could see that the sequence on the tarmac certainly has a decent amount of stuttering. IO Interactive has already acknowledged these issues, and they've noted that they're currently working on optimization and performance patches. The State of Play version was running on a base PS5, not a PC, not a PS5 Pro. The other footage was captured on PC, so that might explain some of the differences that we are seeing. So what do we think? I'm interested in this game. I love James Bond. I love the stories from James Bond. My personal thought is that it looks really interesting. I am definitely going to play it. But I kind of wish personally, just my own thoughts here, that IO had taken the ideas from Hitman but sort of given it a different skin. This looks very similar to a Hitman game with that sort of soft opaqueness, or that smoothing of the colors, and the world sort of has this really pretty kind of frosting to it. That's how I explain it. I wish they'd gone for a different art style. with this to delineate it from the Hitman games, because obviously everybody is talking, very justifiably so, about how this game is related to the Hitman series. And you would do that because, of course, IO made both games. But it would have been nice to have a little difference in the aesthetic variation between them so that they could kind of carve out a different niche with this Bond. However, I'm sure it's going to be great. I think that the Hitman games are really good. They're fun. They are very unique. And I'm sure that they're going to bring that into the Bond series on its own. So what do you think? Are you excited for IO's take on James Bond, or are you worried it's just a hitman in a tux? Let me know in the comments below, and subscribe for more gaming coverage. And I'll see you in that next video where I break down the world, the game, sort of all of the background on what we know so far about this. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.